And time now for the PIX panel. Joining me today, PIX 11 political reporter Henry Rosoff, and from Politico, the double duo, Sally Goldenberg and Jeff Coltin. Great to have you for your first time here, Sally, by the way.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Let's begin with the speaker. She was just a guest here talking about her State of the City address and really talking about the budget, where she says they're not differing from the mayor in terms of the budget. She says they're pretty much in lockstep when it comes to the budget. It doesn't seem that way when you talk to the city council members, Henry, about whether or not these negotiations are going to play out and what it looks like. What are your thoughts?
Well, in theory, I mean, they are members of the same party that generally have some of the same philosophies, but it's all about amount, really. I mean, the mayor has distinctly different priorities. When he sees more money, he thinks police, sanitation, fire. When the council sees more money, they think social services, libraries, the arts, and the like, and education. So you see the differences here. Now, if we had all the money in the world, there wouldn't be an argument here, because generally, philosophically, they're the same. So that's the only way that they're the same. But it's the devil's in the details. The council wants some things that are clearly not as big of a priority for the mayor.
Yeah, education, of course, Sally, being one of them, was a big one. 3K, pre-K. This speaker saying we need more seats, and that's going to be a big part going into the negotiations. You've been covering these negotiations in this administration and in the past. How smoothly do they typically go behind the scenes?
You know, it depends on how much money is available.
Yeah.
And I know that's kind of like an obvious answer.
Yeah.
But in times like, excuse me, when de Blasio was mayor and there was just so much money, it makes negotiations easier, like Henry said. I think in this case, it's going to be tough because it's not just that there's not a ton of money. I think they do kind of fundamentally disagree. It's not just the mayor at the table. In fact, his budget director is more powerful than previous budget directors, and he is conservative fiscally, and he does not want the council to just have, like, carte blanche control over the money. They're fighting over Rikers Island. I mean, that is a fundamental disagreement. Do they close Rikers Island and put jails elsewhere, and how soon do they do it? And no matter whether or not they say they're in agreement, like, they're clearly not. There are enough tea leaves there, I think, to confidently say they're not.
Yeah.
And so I don't think, I mean, it's not a disaster, but I don't think it's smooth right now. I think they want to say they're agreeing because they think that sounds good, but they're clearly not in agreement on a number of things.
And the council's in a better position than they've been in past years because they've been justified with the amount of money that's available. They feel like, they have the upper hand almost, which is rare because usually the mayor has much more power in budget negotiations. But this year, for a variety of reasons, the council has a little more influence than usual, and we'll see if they actually get results.
Well, that's just the power of being correct. They 6 months ago, when the mayor said it's all gloom and doom, they said, wait a minute, this is not quite what we're dealing with.
Okay.
And what's interesting about that, just really quickly, is like the mayor put out a cut, or his budget director put out a cut, and then rescinded it without getting anything, extracting anything from the city council. So it was sort of like, what incentive does the council now have?
I'm curious, why downplay the disagreements, right? Both of them. I interviewed both of them. They be, oh, I love the other. Why not just say what it is? If you're disagreeing fundamentally, say, and that brings me to the next relationship, which is between the governor and the mayor, right? Because there was this big announcement of the National Guard coming into the subway systems because of the crime issue. The mayor was not invited to the announcement with the governor, and he says it was because of a scheduling conflict. And you look at his schedule, there really wasn't anything going on at that time. So what do you make of the relationships overall? I don't know who wants to take it. Henry, let's start with you.
Well, I would say that, to be honest, I mean, I know we like to play up the drama a little bit. This relationship is significant. Let's start with this relationship is significantly better than, say, de Blasio and Cuomo.
Well, yes.
I mean, by a country mile, it's a lot better. That being said, I mean, I feel like the governor felt that she needed to do more in her own right, to stand out and to have more of a safety record. That's the sense that I got. I don't get a sense of a huge conflict here. I don't know if you guys are either. I
think the tension here is around overtime funding. The mayor doesn't want, and the mayor is public safety oriented. He's running for re-election next year. I'm sure it is not great for his brand and his ego to have the governor swoop in with the National Guard and fix the subways that he doesn't control the MTA, but he controls safety in New York City. However, yeah, I kind of agree. I don't think this is, I think they cleaned it up this week by doing another announcement together.
On the license plates.
Yeah. I think what happened there was that the mayor was pushing for the state to fund New York PD overtime. And the governor was like, no, we don't need to fund more overtime for you to keep the subway safe. People don't feel they're safe. She's positioning herself as a bit of a national surrogate for the House candidates. So the perception of safety is very important for her right now.
That's a new angle, by the way.
Yeah.
Because what happened last time with the House seat, states and the down ballot was not faring well for her.
Not at all.
And so now she's kind of upped the ante here.
Yeah,
saying,
and I think
okay,
she thinks this is like visually very helpful to Democrats to say, no, we're not soft on crime, even though there are serious questions about whether the National Guard will actually make the subways safer.
Which is part of their relationship, too, with both the governor and the Speaker of the City Council. The mayor counts on both of those executives to be more moderate voices compared to the legislature. He doesn't want the progressive left of the City Council to enact their stuff, and he expects Adrian to hold on, and so he wants to maintain that relationship with her. And with Hochul, it's the same with the legislature, which is generally more progressive than her. So he needs those allies. Also, clearly a little bit his personality. I mean, the mayor very much likes to keep good relations. He likes to be friends with everybody, and he's doing that with both Hochul and with Speaker Adams. Maybe not with Joe Biden, but sometimes he does.
Well, that's the whole issue with the migrant funding. Let's talk about mayoral control of schools, not included in the state budget. And Sally, you know, the mayor is holding on to this, saying this is a big deal. And the last time I spoke to him, he was like, you don't have me. I don't know what to tell you about what's going to happen to the state of the schools. Where do you see this kind of going moving forward?
Yeah, they're not giving him mayoral. I mean, they're not giving him 4 years. Unless. So it's interesting. Usually, mayors have to go hat in hand to the legislature and the governor and beg for an extension of mayoral control so that they can control their own school system. Yeah. You know, and usually it's part of a negotiation, right, as everything is in Albany. And in this case, the legislature, certain members of the legislature want Adams to enact the class size mandate that they passed a few years ago to basically shrink class sizes in New York City. Yeah. He and his chancellor are saying it's way too expensive. They're citing a figure of roughly $2 billion a year to hire the teachers.
Over 10,000 teachers.
Yeah, plus the cost of space, right? So it is an interesting thing because, like, if, you know, these lawmakers want to be able to say when they run for office, we got your class size smaller. They need Adams to do that. But they have decided that because, you know, it's a game of chicken, right? They've decided he's not doing it, and so they're not giving him this 4-year extension. They've already said they're kicking it past the budget when Hochul has her maximum leverage, and she's a supporter of the 4-year extension. I don't see Adams getting, I mean, he'll play hardball with that class size bill, but I think it's going to be hard for him. They're going to say, who knows who's going to be mayor in 4
and the
years.
cherry on top was these pre-K cuts, which in a way is unrelated, but also unpopular. So they were like, well, we can't stand for these cuts and not meeting the class sizes. So like it's just not politically feasible.
Yeah.
So if he loses mayoral control of schools, Jeff, what happens?
Frankly, that's the thing. Like Adams has some leverage here because the vast majority of New Yorkers do not want to go back to the Board of Education system. They want mayoral control. It's just the legislature needs to keep, they want the mayor coming to them every 2 years or every 1 year, please, and negotiating rather than giving 4 years where it takes the legislature's influence away from the city school system. So there isn't much of an alternative.
So give him the remainder of his term.
Yeah, something like, I don't think they take it away completely. I agree, but I don't think they give him the 4 years he wants.
Right. All very interesting. We got to leave it there because we're out of time. I love this trio here. Great. Henry, Sally, great to have you here. Jeff, always
almost
good to see you.
outnumbered today, Dan.
Yes, I know. 2 and 2.